Good afternoon, dear ladies and gentlemen. We start the briefing of Colonel Andriy Lysenko, who is a spokesman of the Information and Analytical Center of
National Security and Defense Council Information Center spokesman.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues. During the 24th of August, we saw a relative lull in the shelling from the Russian Federation. However, today in the morning, we saw the attempt of Russian military under the disguise of Donbas militants to organize a new district of armed juxtaposition on the south of Donetsk region at 5:20 a.m. in the vicinity of Sherbak and Novozovsk settlements. A mixed convoy of armored vehicles composed of 10 tanks, 2 armored vehicles and 2 trucks, lorries, have violated the state border of Ukraine. The border guards met them with combat action and called for reinforcement. At the moment, the highway is under the control of the forces of anti-terrorist operation, and from the territory of Russian Federation, they fire in the direction of Novozovsk. In the vicinity of Ilovaisk, Kharkiv, Lenivka, almost 250 Russian mercenaries were killed, 8 tanks, 10 armored vehicles, 3 Grad batteries, and 1 howitzer were destroyed. The fiercest battles were not far from Lenivka, next to Donetsk, where they destroyed 7 tanks, 7 armored personal carriers, 1 Grad battery, 1 howitzer, and almost 80 bandits. 39 times over the day, the anti-terrorist operation forces exchanged fire with terrorists in the vicinity of settlements Lenivka, Новосвітлівка, Чумаки, Дебальцеве, Нижня Кринка, Маломиколаївка, Мар'їнка, Георгіївка, Авдіївка, Станиця Луганська, and Luhansk Airport. Tonight, from the Russian Federation territory, 19 artillery shells were fired against the positions of border guards unit from the vicinity of the Russian village Monotsky in the direction of Yuhanivka in Luhansk region. Yesterday, from 7:30 p.m. to 8:10 p.m., there was a combat action between the border patrol Krasnotalievka of the Luhansk detachment with an armed group of terrorists. The terrorists were moving with rucksacks and weapons from the territory, from the direction of the Russian Federation, and the bandits were made to retreat. Yesterday, the border patrol, not far from Ambrosivka, detected a group of 10 armed terrorists who crossed the border from Russia in the direction of the Ukrainian village Shevchenko, and as a result of a battle, the militants went back to Russia. The Russian Federation continues to use drones for air reconnaissance. The cynical shelling of Ukrainian settlements is continuing. From Grad batteries, the terrorists fired at the settlement Komuna in Donetsk region. There are no units of ATO next to this settlement. Many peaceful residents became victims. We're now taking the precise count. In Kirovsk, Donetsk region, as a result of artillery fire, the Orthodox church was hit by a shell. 3 people died as a result. In Petrovsk, Luhansk region, the militants fired from artillery at the territory of the chemical association named after Petrovsky. After this, a fire started on the storage units. At the territory controlled by them. The terrorists are intimidating and robbing peaceful residents. In Yanakievo, they took all the stuff from Foxtrot shop to the tune of almost 4 million hryvnia. At the central market of Gorlivka, the terrorist bandit formations are robbing local entrepreneurs. They also threat with death to residents of Alchevsk who asked to help them about social payments. In Donetsk, the terrorists are stopping peaceful residents and check the Donetsk registration. They banned the entry to the city to those who are not registered in the regional center. Together with the battalion Aidar, the State Security Service liquidated the forest camp of militants. One terrorist was killed. Some were wounded. The rest retreated. They found arsenals of weapons mined there and almost 3 kilos of explosives, plastic explosives. The State Security Service on emergency situations detected and confiscated 994 units of ammunition and explosive objects. Starting from the 6th of July, the State's Emergency Service in Donetsk and Luhansk regions liquidated 15,332 units of ammunition. 4 Ukrainian military were killed and 31 wounded during the last day. Any questions? Are there the settlements which were populated centers which were taken by separatists, and there's an information that a lot of people are leaving Mariupol. Is it feasible for the population to remain in Mariupol, and how reliable its defense is? And could you please dwell about on the losses of Prekarpattia battalion? I don't have any information on the Prekarpattia battalion as far as the populated centers under the control of terrorists. You can see them on the map. As for today's attempt to break through the Ukrainian border in 2 directions, you see the Novazovsk was not taken, and the highway between Mariupol and Azovsk is controlled by Ukrainian military. In Mariupol itself, there is enough personnel and means to repel any attack of uninvited guests. Any other questions? What about the forces of the enemy in the vicinity of Novazovsk? Can you tell us in more detail what was the strength of the so-called terrorists? And do we know for sure that they came from the territory of the Russian Federation, or are there any other possibilities? The convoy, the mixed convoy that tried to break through Sherbak in direction of Novazovsk was composed of 10 tanks, 2 armored personnel carriers, and 2 lorries. If you have any other data, we will be grateful if you pass them on to us. We did not detect any other vehicles. I don't know the numbers of personnel. There was an information in the network in the morning that the terrorists sustained heavy losses. Do you have precise information? No, we don't have precise information. Those are approximate. We cannot count all killed and wounded militants because it's in the combat zone. So the visual observation and analysis provides us with an opportunity to approximately count their losses, but we cannot quote precise figures. We have precise figures only about our guys. About the parade that took place in Donetsk yesterday, were those people really Ukrainian military? Do we know who were those people, and will there be any attempts to free them, like exchange or so? All the Ukrainian military or peaceful residents who are hostages for terrorists, we are trying to free them. As far as the performance that the terrorists called parade is concerned, this is just a shameful thing staged by the terrorists. As far as the prisoners are concerned, we're not in the state of war with any country of the world, so we cannot talk of prisoners of war. Those are hostages held by terrorists. As far as the column of those who were paraded, we are now making further inquiries. We don't know exactly who were there, but we do not exclude the assumption that there were Ukrainian hostages from there. Do we know how many Ukrainian military are hostages of the terrorists? We have approximate figures, and we are talking to free them, so we do not make these figures public. First, today in the morning, local residents said that the village of Markino was seized by terrorists, and then that the terrorists from Markino attacked Novoazovsk and destroyed a local bakery. Yes, from this direction they have broken through the state border. The border guards sent this information, and they reinforced border patrols, and there were clashes, and the convoy was stopped. Markino was not taken by terrorists.
The direction of the convoy came from the Russian side, and when you say they were under the guise of Donetsk, were they wearing other uniforms? Could you be specific about the insignias that were on the tanks in these in this convoy? Thank you.
Я хотів би, щоб переводу не було.
Could you repeat your question?
I was just asking if you could.
Thank you for question.
The column that tried to break through the border and enter the territory of Ukraine had the flags of the so-called Donetsk People's Republic, and those were the only signs that and the insignia that this convoy had. Now, this convoy is in the territory of Ukraine, or are they in the territory of Russian Federation? The combat action was, the engagement took place in the territory of Ukraine. Any other questions? Just to be more precise, you said that a significant part of this convoy was destroyed. Can you be more precise? How many of the terrorists remained in the territory of Ukraine? Out of these 10 tanks and the rest of vehicles, we are watching the situation, and the remnants of the convoy will be destroyed in due time. I told you that 10 tanks, 2 APCs and 2 lorries entered our territory, but the liquidation took place from a distance, and we don't have exact data at the moment. On the map, there is a sign that there is an attack on Luhansk. Can you tell us more about this? The matter is that Stanitsa Luhanska, every day there are counterattacks, and this is one of the hotbeds of combat action by pro-Russian mercenaries. What's the situation in Luhansk proper? We had the information that part of the city was liberated, and then that our troops withdrew. What is the situation? The bigger part of the city is still under the control of the militants, but the Ukrainian military are in positions in the northern part of the city, from where they will launch the offensive. What about your site? Our site is constantly under attack. We are also engaged in repelling attacks by the guys who are engaged in this, so this is not strange. And if we are under attack, then we mean something. What is the situation in Luhansk and in Donetsk? I have just told you about Luhansk. The same thing is happening in Donetsk. The positionary combat on the outskirts of the city. We know that there's a lot of armored vehicles and other means and the personnel of the militants. So far there are positionary combat actions. Do we know anything about the second humanitarian convoy that Russia plans to send to Ukraine? We don't have such an information. Any other questions? If there are no questions, thank you very much, and the briefing is over.